space is air conditioned. Next door, in the auditorium where we could go, and I have it all set up. I've got the screen going, I got the computer hooked up, it's all ready to play. Next door is not air conditioned, and because we're small enough tonight, I think we might be more comfortable here than if we travel next door, and I hope you're okay with that. Okay? And we are going to make a webinar. That's another great suggestion from our parents. And so we're going to try our hand at that, and we'll just see how that goes. And I'm so happy to look so fresh for our first webinar of the year. All right, so tonight what we're going to talk a little bit about is successful academic behaviors and how to support accelerated and advanced students as they undergo the challenge of work. Now, if you can't see that little screen, it's okay. It's really there just for visual cues and also to keep me from drifting. Okay? So, and I've got this little clicker that's supposed to work, and we'll just see if it does. Ha-ha! Okay, so conditions for learning is one of our big ideas for this year to improve our school improvement plan. It's part of our improvement plan. Because what we notice is that sometimes our students get so wrapped up in the academic aspect of it, they'll skip meals, or they'll stay up late, or they'll procrastinate, or they'll neglect important relationships like with their families and in their communities, or they'll sacrifice activities, and that's not healthy, or balanced, or a good idea. Okay, we want our students to feel connected and inspired. We want them to know the joy of living an intellectual life, because it is a joyful life. Okay, when you are curious and you find out new things, you try new things. It's exciting and it's interesting, and we want them to have that. But you can't have that if you're not getting enough sleep, if you are skipping meals or not eating well, or you're not moving enough because you're tied to your computer typing a paper. Now, we need to get better with our students. We're really good at getting them to do peer review and help give each other good critical feedback. We're really good at teaching them that. We have not been as good about teaching them how to avoid the procrastination trap that so many of our kids get stuck in. Okay, so that's what this is about. In our conditions for learning, how can we help our students learn the skills they need so they can have a balanced and healthy intellectual life? So, avoiding the procrastination trap. Why do perfectionists and high performers procrastinate? There are probably as many reasons as there are people. But some of the big ones are, it's a great excuse if you're not sure you're going to perform well. If you're not sure, if you're not feeling confident in your work, if you put it off to the last minute, you can always say, well, I got a low score on that because I did it last night before it was due. I stayed up all late. And because I stayed up late and didn't do it, then of course I got a low score on it. It's okay. It's not my true ability. And so it's an easy excuse. And even though it's not purposeful or conscious, we know that students do it because we do it. Adults do it, right? If you're not sure, if you're dreading that conversation, you're not sure, you may not want to pick up the phone or send that email. We do it. And we did it when we were kids, if you remember. Okay? So that's one reason. So you'll have a kid who might be a real perfectionist and are terrified that the work that they're doing is not good enough. And they might be afraid that if I show this to my teacher, they'll think badly of me. And so I am just going to not do that because I don't want to get in that emotional space where I feel like my teacher doesn't like me or thinks I'm not as smart, or maybe they might think that maybe I don't belong here. That is a real emotion that kids will feel sometimes. And we have to, as the adults, support them through that emotion to get to the other side. Okay? Another reason why you get the procrastination, perfectionists, and high performers is because they're unaccustomed to the need to plan and prioritize. They don't normally have to do it, right? Because they've been able to roll up out of bed and throw it together at the last minute and it's fine. But when they come here and we have increased the challenge level, you can't do that anymore. And that's a shock. I mean, like, whoa, that's a surprise to some of our students. And they get a little nervous about that. So they're unaccustomed to the need to remember that even if you have a good memory, it's too much for one person to keep track of. Like there's too many moving parts. Most of us know how to organize ourselves by looking at our planner or on our phone, or we have mechanisms for helping ourselves remember important things. But our students don't know those skills yet, and many of them haven't had to need them. So that's another reason they'll put it off and won't do it. So we need to teach them that skill too, about how do you break a big thing down into small pieces and do a little bit at a time, so when you get to the end, it's not overwhelming. And the last big reason, and there's more reasons than this, but the last really big reason is that kids will get too many irons in the fire. That's the word my mom would tell me, the phrase, right? I mean, they say yes to everything. And you'll see this especially with accelerated advanced learners because they tend to have what we call multi-potentiality, which means they're really good at a lot of stuff. And when you are really good at a lot of things, you think, well, I have to do it because I'm good at it. So I'm going to sign up for debate, and soccer, and guitar, and oil band, and I'm writing a novel with my friend, and next thing you know, you get so much stuff because you're so good at it, and it's very hard for you to say, you know, this semester I'm really going to focus on this. And then next semester, maybe I'll go back and revisit that. I don't have to be in the play every single semester or whatever, right? And so that's another reason why kids will procrastinate. They just take on too much because they can, and they have an appetite for it, and they think, well, you know, if I'm good at it, maybe I have to do it. They feel an obligation. They'll get pressure from the other people on the team. You know, we need you on the debate team. You can't not be on the debate team. And they're like, oh, I don't know if I really want to do that. Okay, so those are a couple things that causes those procrastinations. This is the idea that we need to get across to our students more than any other, which is you are not your work. I have this conversation with my daughter all the time, okay? I will say to her, okay, you are perfect and wonderful and beautiful just exactly as you are, but this paper stinks, okay? You are fantastic and perfect, but these skills gotta get better, right? We gotta improve your skills. You're not there yet with your skills, but that doesn't say anything about you as a person. You as a person are fine, but we need to work on your skills. And separating that is hard because a lot of our students derive their identity from their academic ability. And they think, well, if I can't, you know, if my skills are not there on the first try, then I'm not who I thought I was. And that's not true. That's not true. I also, you know, I've got two daughters. My oldest daughter refused to learn how to drive for a long time. And I kept going, you gotta learn how to drive. You live in Iowa, you need to learn how to drive. She didn't want to. And finally, we got down to the real reason. And she's like, if I learn how to drive, I'll be a different person. I won't be the same. And I'm like, you are not your skills. You are still who you are, even if you know how to drive. Or you don't know how to drive, you're still you. Right? You are not your skills. You can develop skills and abilities even if you don't change. Like your person, who you are. And there's sometimes people get so mixed up in that they try to sacrifice a piece of who they are because they think that they have to fit into a particular box. Or that this is what that means, and I can't be who I truly am because I won't fit into this little box of that expectation. And we have to understand that that box is completely made up by other people and sometimes by ourselves in our own mind. Okay? So, you are not your work. Separating who you are from your skills that you're developing is essential but difficult. So what you can do is you can think about, do the comments that I'm getting back help me understand what I can do next? Like when I read the comments in the paper, the first reaction when kids give comments in the paper is to go, right? And I know I'm exactly the same way. I get that same kind of feeling. If people give me comments and feedback, I go, oh, God, really? But I'm not my work. I can get better. I can learn new things, right? And if the comments actually help me get new ideas, then I have to embrace that. And I have to say, well, that was helpful. This is a friend of mine who's telling me what I need to hear so I can be better. And sometimes it's really hard to recognize that, especially if you have the Iowa nice culture in your background. Okay? Maybe we can just don't talk about that kind of thing. That's interesting. That's what we say instead of that was dumb, right? So, ooh, that's interesting. That's the Iowa nice, right? So, teachers desperately want students to be successful, and that's why they give comments. That's why they give that feedback to kids, and they care about them enough to tell them, you're perfect and wonderful and beautiful, and this paper needs work. That's why. And we have to see it as an act of love, because it is. Okay? It is. Because we know that students will get better if we support them and tell them the truth about their skills and what they can do to get better. But it's hard to hear that sometimes, and it usually comes with some sort of emotional reaction. So, help your child think through that. That getting feedback is an act of love. Okay? Let's see if I can get that. Oh, look. Courage. Making the cut. The students that come to Academy are ready for Academy classes. They are. We rarely make mistakes. This doesn't happen. Okay? Academy students, however, doubt themselves. You get a lot of students who may have some stereotype threat, where they have an idea in their mind about what it is that makes an academy person, and if they don't fit that stereotype in their mind, if they don't see it, then they will feel like, maybe I shouldn't speak up. Maybe if I sit back here, no one will notice that I'm thinking very differently about this than everyone else. If they are thinking very differently about it, fantastic. That means they've got something to share that's worthwhile for the rest of us. So please share it so we can really enrich this conversation. But if all of us are the same, then all of us are diminished. Okay? So there's a lot of that. And so we have to kind of get through that idea that there's only one way, that there's only one type of person who can be successful here, because it's just not true. Okay, so learning is iterative. This is our keep moving forward. With perfectionists, they will often try to go back and redo and perfect and make it exactly right. It has to be perfect. And if it isn't, then they won't want to turn it in, because what will my teacher think? My teacher will think, you're making progress. You're moving in the right direction. Oh, look, here's an opportunity here. Oh, look, this is something you could do here. Hey, this would be really awesome if you could also explain. And you'll find that people will do better if you understand that learning is iterative, but it's very hard to understand that if you've always got it on the first try. If your previous experience has been, oh, I showed up, I got an A without even trying, then you're going to have a really hard time with this process. Because you're going to have to try. And you're going to have to do it again. That's actually built into the system for you to do it again, because you're going to have to keep expanding and developing and pushing out on those skills. That's important. Perfectionism can put the focus behind it. What did I just do? What did I do last week? How perfect was it before? And that, to use that analogy of windshield or rearview mirror, the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror, because where you need to keep your focus is where you're going, not where you've been. Right? Doesn't mean you don't check your rearview to see where you've been, because where you've been is important. But it's not as important as where we're getting to. So keep moving forward, because we will keep giving you more opportunities to develop the skills you need. Because we don't expect you to have them when you get there. I taught physics and chemistry, and I would have kids come to my classroom, and they go, I don't know anything about physics. Maybe I shouldn't be in this class. And I'd be like, are you kidding? That's why you take a physics class. You take physics because you don't know anything about it. If you already knew it, then why are you here? Right? So that's an important thing to keep in mind, but you lose track of that, especially if things have always come easily for you. So, I love this. Highly motivated, except when we are. That is so typical of a Central Academy student. Highly motivated, except when we aren't. We even put it on a t-shirt because it was one of our students kept saying it was pretty funny. So, what we've discovered is that a lot of our students struggle sometimes, especially in the early years, with planning and prioritizing their work, because they've never had to do it before. So we're trying to be a little bit more explicit in helping kids plan and prioritize and know how to do that. Okay? So, if you get in a situation and you weren't ready for this, you didn't have a plan, you didn't know what to do, then that happens to everybody. You know, you get in the first car accident you ever get into, right? What you do is you stop, look around, right? Relax, take a deep breath, look around, what is going on in the moment, and then prioritize. What's most important? Are the people in my car safe? Are the people in the other car safe? Is there going to cause another accident? If I get out now, is there another car going to come by? You know, so relax, look around, and prioritize also works when you are late on a paper. Okay, like, oh my gosh, I gotta do this, I didn't know all this was coming at once. Relax. Look around. What resources do you have? What's really essential? What's urgent and what's important? Prioritize. What do I need to tackle first? I do the 10-minute rule when I get really busy, like things are going too fast. I say, okay, what can I do in the next 10 minutes that's on this list that will make me feel good about moving forward? So, the 10-minute rule, and when I'm overwhelmed with too much, and I know all of you have been in that place. All of you have been in a situation where you got a list like this, and you're like, my hours are like this, right? And so, how do you do that? How do you get through that? Well, you prioritize what's urgent and what's important. And sometimes what's important has to come before what's urgent. Sometimes things are urgent and important, right? Sometimes important things can wait just a little bit so you can take care of what's urgent. It kind of depends on the situation. So, relax. Take a short walk, move your head, and you'll be surprised how much easier things can be. The other thing is that our students don't understand that putting stuff off equals future pain. If you put it off, you're going to have what you have to do tomorrow and what you're supposed to do today. It's just going to build up, and that will be very painful. So putting stuff off equals future pain is a key idea that we want students to understand and kind of grasp. And not by having pain. That's not what we want. We want to prevent it from causing pain. Because we want to be happy and healthy people. Here's the other thing. Lead with questions. This is about noticing how you're feeling. And some of our students really don't do that very well. They don't recognize when they're feeling an emotion. They feel stressed, but they don't even know what that emotion is that they're feeling. Am I anxious? Am I nervous? Am I excited? They're having trouble naming it. And so, when you're feeling something, pausing, because somebody just told you something. Hey, did you get that paper done? Did you finish your summer reading? I gotta leave now. Great story. Okay, so, for specificity. Which paper are you talking about? Do you have that class on the A day or the B day? Because I have it on the B day and mine's due tomorrow, not today. Right? So, for specificity, pay attention to how you're feeling and maybe how other people around you are feeling. If you have that kind of situational awareness, we'd like to develop that in kids. Awareness of how they impact the environment around them, that's an important skill too. But noticing when you're uncomfortable is when you have to start asking questions. Like, why am I feeling this way? What is that root cause for this? And that's also when you start to say, I didn't quite understand that. If you get a homework assignment and it's taking you more than an hour, you need to get more information from your teacher. There's a piece that you're missing. We do not expect students to spend hours and hours and hours at home at night, every night doing homework. That's ridiculous because you can't have a healthy life. You can't do your activities and your passions, and you can't sleep and eat and be with your family if all you're doing is homework. You do need some homework, but it shouldn't be overwhelming. The only time it gets overwhelming is if you procrastinated or if you didn't understand it. And so if you find yourself going, I've been working on this and I'm not there yet, then maybe you should ask some more questions. Most of our teachers give their students their email. They all have their email, but also sometimes someone gives their phone number. And they call me when you're stuck, but our kids don't want to call their teacher. I'll just ask them, later. That's that procrastination thing. What are they going to think about me if I ask that question? Am I going to think I'm done? No, the teacher's going to go, gosh, I bet if you're asking that question, there's several kids who have that question. And having someone be able to say, I don't quite get this, really helps our teachers know what to focus on. Okay? So lead with questions. Search for common ground. Now these are dispositions that we'd also like to see. Not just skills, but dispositions, attitudes. Search for common ground means engaging with people so you can develop your own thinking. Talking to people who may have a different perspective or different view or different experience than you strengthens your own understanding of your own ideas. If you always thought this, but you just assumed that everybody thought what you thought, then your ideas are not going to be very robust. So to really get strengths of ideas, you need to seek out other people and share your thinking. And that can be hard for some kids. Some kids, I've got 2 daughters. One of them will tell you everything she thinks. And the other one will never say a word. And I'm like, you had a really good idea. Why didn't you tell me about this idea so we could bring it to the table, all of us could hear it, and we could all benefit from the way that you thought about this. It's very different. She goes, because it's very different. I'm like, well, that's advantage. That's advantage. To be very different is actually an advantage. Please help us. So listen closely to others, openly, seek to understand before being understood, from the Stephen Covey 7 Habits, that really works. Okay? So there's that. Be authentic, developing your own voice and understanding yourself and your perspective is a critical skill that we're trying to get to, being authentic. Develop ideas by listening, asking questions about other people's experience and perspectives. Rich diversity creates stronger ideas, and your ideas can create the soil for other people's thinking. So your ideas can actually really help other people think through their ideas. It's much better if we're not all thinking the same thing. Okay? And so getting it out there is important. So it's hard though, especially if you think you have some really out there idea, or you're not really feeling very confident about that, or everyone else seems to get this and I'm still kind of like, what? I promise you, if one student in the room is going, almost a third of the class will be going. Right? So, okay. Oh. Presume the positive. Presume positive intentions. This is a really important thing for us today in our current climate. We're in sort of a protest era. Like we have policies about walkout protests, right? Like we have to learn how to handle that because right now the response when somebody says something that feels like a challenge or feels like a setback or change or unexpected in some way, the default for most people in today's environment is to assume that the other person is being callous and aggressive and hateful. And it may not be that. But that reflex is really strong right now, and it's modeled in our media all over the place. If you just read the headlines, I don't know if you've had that experience, but I know I have read the headlines and gone, ooh, like I don't know how many times. It doesn't matter which source. I try to read all kinds of different perspectives, and so I read usually about 4 newspapers a day, and I try to get the whole spectrum from conservative to liberal because I really want to understand the issues, and I really want to understand those ideas. And yet, no matter where I look, people are just pointing their fingers at each other and shouting. And so we've got to get to a spot where we can hear each other and ask clarifying questions, like when somebody says something that really feels very outrageous to you, you say, I think I hear you saying this. And I've tried this strategy even this summer, and it has really helped me because there were a few times when I was making assumptions about what the other person's motives were that were wrong. And I found myself going, I think I hear you saying, and they go, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that. And I go, oh, good. Because I was really worried there for a minute. Okay? So that presuming positive intentions is important, and we got little keychains for kids if they want them. Mainly because I want to keep remembering that for me. This is an important thing for me to keep referring back to because sometimes it can be a little overwhelming in our climate. Remember that strong emotional reactions means that something important is happening. how to say it, but they may be values that we're not paying attention to, or unrealized, or unconscious values that we have. But if somebody says something that makes us go, ugh, that emotional reaction that we're having is because one of our values is being pinged. And we need to pay attention to what that is and have a better understanding of our own values. And that's why presuming positive intentions will help us, so we can hear it. Okay, we're almost there. Consider your impact has two really important meanings to me. One, consider how you affect the room environment around you and how that your contributions affect everyone else around you. And sometimes that's the situational awareness. Especially younger kids have a hard time with that. Like, they're all like, what's going on right here with me, I'm right here. And everyone's looking at me and no one can see them. Right? They're really, whoo. That's part of being, especially a younger teenager. That's part of that. Okay? But the other half of this is that your perspective and experiences are important to share because they help all of us. So when you consider your impact, consider that if you don't swing into this and you don't contribute, then you can't be heard. And now we are all less because of that. Okay, so we need to make sure that all of us consider how we can change the situation just with one voice. Be that one kid, be that one person. But we also have to think about how do we affect those around us and make this a better place. Okay. And so I think that was it. All right. On Monday, we are going to have student orientation for kids, where we're going to have all of our teaching staff will be here. We will have every room open and available. You can find classrooms. We're going to have swag for kids. If there's any students here tonight and you want some swag, we'll get you some tonight. We have it in our conference room, so we'll take our students who want to have a little swag tonight. Because then you can look like all hit when you come. And part of the reason why we have the swag is because we're trying to really put these images and these ideas out for our students, for not only for our students, but also for us as adults. We as adults have to follow these successful academic behaviors too. Our teaching staff and myself have to think about how we contribute to the climate and culture of our building, as well as our students, and we have to come together as an entire community to make that happen. So I hope this presentation was helpful to you, to kind of give an idea about where we want to go as a community and as a school program to support our students. And I hope that you're feeling hungry after this really rich discussion, that you'll want to eat some cookies and maybe have some water, because even though this is the air-conditioned side, it sure feels like it clicked off. Well, I'm around, and Ann is here. Ann Cross is one of our teachers, and Ann Scolford was an alumni and also in the neighborhood, and she's agreed to come and host with us. Becca Lindahl is from Harlan AEA. She's working with our leadership team this year, and she's housed here. And I'm Jessica Gogerty. I'm the director, and any of us can talk with you about things that you might have questions about. I'm so excited for this new school year. I can't even tell you how excited I am for this school year, because it's going to be amazing. We've done so much to prepare, and we're just very, like, my mom says, school years are like pregnancies. When you first find out, you're so excited and everything, and then boredom sickness will set in.